Dave Sanesteven for Around SoCo, and we're here with Trinidad Mayor Bernadette Baca Gonzalez. How are you doing today, Madam Mayor?
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the invitation.
Madam Mayor, I've got a couple questions for you. First off, would you tell me about your background, where you came from, where you grew up?
Yes, certainly. I was born and raised here in Trinidad, Colorado. Went to school in Boney High School, graduated from there, went to the University of Southern Colorado in Pueblo, and then obtained my law degree from the University of Colorado at Boulder. At that time it was called Fleming Law School. My career, I spent a major part of my career in Texas. First with the oil and gas industry, and then subsequently I transferred to the private sector, where I worked as a school attorney, which is basically representing a political subdivision. Upon retirement, I wanted to come home, and I'm back in my beloved Trinidad, Colorado.
Why'd you get into politics?
Why did I get into politics? Because I love Trinidad, and I wanted to do something civic-minded. I felt I had a responsibility to come here and try to make life better for children, residents, citizens, senior citizens here in this city.
Okay. Now to get to some of the issues. There's been recent meetings about the medical marijuana issue and the sale of retail marijuana within the city limits of Trinidad, and there's some citizens that believe that you haven't looked at both sides of the marijuana issue. So can you explain a little bit about some of the things you did to come into your decision and how you came to your decision?
Yes, sir. Actually, if you look at minutes from meetings that have occurred several months back, you will find comments that I made that suggested, and I've had people suggest to me what's happened, that it seemed like at first you were in favor of marijuana. But over the months, I have done research. I have done my own research. I have purchased my own books. I have talked with experts, and I have spent considerable amount of time reviewing the resources that were provided to us by city staff. So I have done my research, and I have come to a point where I believe this is not right for youngsters, and particularly young people. One of the articles that was provided to us by one of the speakers at a meeting was an article by Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and he points out and confirms what I had read elsewhere, that the frontal cortex for young people isn't fully developed until they're approximately 24 years of age. And Dr. Gupta points out that youngsters who use marijuana are running the risk of damaging that frontal cortex. And just based on my research, I just could not see this as being a viable option for the young people here in Trinidad.
Now, since the meeting, there have been criticism that you did not listen to the public comments for the sale of retail marijuana or medical marijuana here within the city of Trinidad. Tell us about how you listen to people.
And I would dispute that. I have taken, during the public input section, I took 4 pages of notes and could summarize for you what the various speakers said. I took careful notes. Following the meeting, I studied the notes. I compared those with additional information that I had already conducted research on. So I did listen to the concerns, and I have to tell you that there were very impassioned arguments made on both sides of the issue, and I did listen. I did listen to their concerns, and I really appreciate and thank those individuals for taking time from their personal schedules to come and talk not only to me but to the other members of council.
Why are you so passionate about this issue, Madam Mayor?
Well, I know some people think maybe I've kind of lost my temper, but let me tell you what's operating there. When I was in Texas, I represented school districts and my job was to protect children. Protect them from abuse, protect them from violence, protect them from drugs. And when I believe that there is anything that is going to adversely affect the young people in this town, I have to speak up about that. And I believe our young people have been forgotten in this whole process. We have adults fighting among themselves, and we're forgetting that our decisions, particularly decisions we make about marijuana, are going to affect those young people. We need to put the focus where it has to be, back on our young people.
How would selling marijuana, either retail or medical, be harmful to residents and the people within the city of Trinidad?
Well, my vision for Trinidad is that we have responsible, sustainable growth. And obviously, if we have sales of marijuana, information provided to us by the Trinidad Police Department shows there's a clear correlation between the availability of medical marijuana in a community and an increase in the use of marijuana by middle school and high school students. So again, that hits my heartstring that it's not right, it's going to be bad for the kids. Retail sales, I don't believe those are sustainable. With medicinal marijuana, we're a town of 9,000 people. I cannot imagine that there is the need for a medicinal marijuana facility here that would not serve but more than a handful of people. And I know I was criticized because I commented about the fact that our hospital facilities here don't provide all the services, and that we do have individuals who have to travel 90 miles north to get kidney dialysis, have their children, and we had a beautiful young lady appear before us last night, as a matter of fact, and related her experience in multiple times with false labor pains having to go to Pueblo. So I'm not minimizing or criticizing individuals that may need the medical marijuana, but I was trying to make the point that our priorities aren't where they need to be. Our priorities should be on listening to our hospitals, listening to our medical providers, finding out what gaps we have here in Trinidad and addressing those. Because if we look for economic development, I'm here to tell you the first thing people are going to ask, employers are going to ask, is what is the condition in your schools? What is the quality of your medical care in the area? And it just seems to me that if we have challenges in those two areas, we do not need to put another rock on our back in terms of the availability of marijuana. Reality is, many employers are going to perceive that as a negative. Right now in Trinidad, we're struggling. We need to have some sustainable growth. I'm encouraged that we do have one development that will be taking off, I think, very shortly. And it will create tourist attractions right off exit 14. Now, the construction of that facility is going to create hundreds of construction jobs. Once it is built, it will create many, many jobs that pay a living wage and that are sustainable for our community. And I'm afraid that if we go chasing this quick fix, bad idea of selling marijuana, that we may turn off those very investors who are poised right now to come and put significant investments here in Trinidad. We have to focus on sustainable economic development.
Okay. And finally, Madam Mayor, what is your vision for Trinidad now and in the next couple of years in the future?
Again, I come back to sustainable growth, recognizing that we need to remember our children. They are our biggest resource. And I think we also need to remember that many people are relocating or have relocated to Trinidad because they want a better quality of life for their children. And that's why it's so important that we focus our energy on enhancing our educational opportunities for these families, that we enhance our medical services for these families. Many people don't want to stay in large cities. They come through Trinidad and they see it like sweet little Mayberry, and they would prefer to come here and raise their families in a climate where there is minimal crime. And certainly every city, every place in this country, there are some problems with substance abuse and drug abuse. But Trinidad still is perceived as a sweet little town, and we do not need to put an additional rock on our back by basically allowing sales to occur in the city.
Madam Mayor, I thank you for your time today.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Dave Sanestiva for Around Solar.